This episode and every episode of the Beer Guys Radio Show is brought to you by Ironmonger Brewing. Visit Ironmonger at their taproom in Marietta, Georgia, or online at ironmongerbrewing.com.
Open up a tab, grab a seat, and pour a pint. It's time for the Beer Guys Radio Show.
You want free beer? Go to the brewery.
Dedicated to the art, science, and enjoyment of craft beer.
Yo, what's wrong with the beer we got?
Now, here are your hosts, Tim Dennis and Brian Hewitt.
Welcome to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We're broadcasting from the Beer Guys Radio Studios in Marietta, Georgia. And this week we are talking Oktoberfest with Tucker Brewing. I'm Tim Dennis, and with me today are my co-hosts Brian Hewitt and the Becky Smalls.
Yay!
Yay, Becky. I
Me.
didn't forget Becky this week.
She got it acknowledged this time.
She got it.
Even before, no, right after.
No,
Right after.
right after you.
We got
You
to
were
speak
there.
before me. So.
She did.
So she's, we're turning the ship around here. So, hey, Tim, as you said, we're talking Oktoberfest, the traditions, beer, music, and food. Plus, we're going to do a blind taste of a handful of Oktoberfest beers. And by handful, I mean 8. So that's a little bit, maybe more than a
The
handful.
Ocho.
Yes, the Ocho of those. And we're going to pick our favorites. We're going to rank them. Joining us for this adventure, as you said, is Tucker Brewing Company's owner, Ashley Hubbard, and Brewmaster Tucker Eagleson. Tucker Brewing Company specializes in German-style beers, so they're the right people for the task at hand. Tucker and Ashley, thank you for joining us.
Well, thanks for having both of
Yeah,
us.
pleasure to be here.
We appreciate it. So we jumped right in, Brian. We're already
Yes.
drinking, and we've got our number 1 of 8 Oktoberfest beers here. We'll talk here in a little bit about the list we've got. We're blind tasting.
Yes.
So blind, Brian.
With this first one, I immediately got something along the lines of a gourd flavor, like not pumpkin, but something gourdy, and then followed up by a big kind of bread crust type of finish. So big malty, little bitter maltiness to it. But
Okay.
I mean, not bad. It's a pretty solid beer in my estimation.
Good stuff. Tucker, what do you think? We were chatting a little bit about this.
Yeah, from the smell, it smells like it has more residual sweetness in the taste, but it actually finishes pretty crisp and
Yeah.
light.
You know what? If anybody is going to have to go through this tough work of drinking a bunch of Oktoberfest beers, we'll do it. And we're doing it right, Brian. As is tradition here, we have some bratwurst and pretzels and Smalls made spaetzle, and we've got just all the good stuff, everything you need to have a good time. And we got pretzels from Germany's favorite restaurant, Quick Trip.
Der Quick Trip.
Yes, Der Quick Trip.
Der Quick Trip. Great place to pick up authentic German food.
That's
like
right.
pretzels and pizza and breakfast burritos.
All of Germany's favorites
That's
right there. But Brian, this week in general, I know I had a pretty chill week. I didn't do a whole heck of a lot just outside of, we got together Saturday and we recorded some of our mini episodes for our Patreon supporters. And actually just earlier this week, we put out one, Surly Furious, new in Georgia, Surly Brewing. So we put that out there. And if you would like to get, Brian, those mini episodes, you can do it for just $5 a month.
I would totally like to do that.
Right at
Yeah.
patreon.com/beerguys. So go check that out. Get the mini episodes, bonus content, other stuff there. But that was about it for me. I had some nachos that I really liked, and we recorded mini episodes, drank some good beers there. How about you, Brian? You get into anything else?
You know, so it was kind of a chill starting with the weekend forward because I did a little, and I'm going to air quotes this, a little testing of some drink recovery stuff. And so I tied one on a bit. So I got into some gin and tonic.
For science.
For science. I did this for science. I got into some Superstition Meadery's vanilla Marion, which is really delightful and interesting when you're mixing rum and gin and tonics and then stuff like Creature Comforts Mutualism, which is fantastic. 2016. When I opened it, I expected it to be good. I did not expect it to be quite as amazing as it was. So that was great. And just a bunch of interesting stuff. I got into some alternate IPAs too, some hazy little thing and high life, some stuff I hadn't had in a while. So
Good stuff.
I mixed it up a little bit, but honestly, I didn't get too wild this week other than that one day, which kind of felt the next day.
Yeah. Smalls, did you do any science this week?
Oh, no, I hung out with friends and family this weekend, started pre-gaming Oktoberfest, had some Leinenkugels, and then, as you do when you're at the liquor store and they have those frozen hard popsicles, they just magically came home with me as well.
Happens so often.
Nice.
Tried those out, and then I got to see my favorite comedian, Jim Jeffries. He was in town, so I got to go do that, and that's about it. Otherwise, it was really chill.
These followed me home. Can I keep them?
Yeah,
Right?
that's what I told
Yeah.
Orion. Like, they fell in the cart. They had to come home. They were mine.
Tucker, Ashley, I bet you've had a busy week gearing up for Oktoberfest season, right?
Oh, good Lord. Yes. So we have our big Oktoberfest event Saturday, the 28th. So we have been planning, booking events, booking vendors, I guess not, I shouldn't say events, but just, it's one thing after the next of getting ready for a big blowout
Big party.
Oktoberfest party.
Rock
yeah,
and roll, right?
absolutely.
Brian, I have a correction. We don't have to do a lot of these, or maybe we should probably do more. I don't know. When I'm pointed out that we made a mistake, we correct it. But last week when we were talking to Deschutes Brewing, we were talking, Brian, about Crispy Boys.
Oh, yeah.
And they asked us, was there a beer out there called Crispy Boys? And we said we didn't think so. We were incorrect. So about midweek, someone texted me a picture of Crispy Boy Pilsner from Alarmist Brewing Company, and a quick search of Untappd shows there are actually quite a few more out there under that name. And Brian actually got some hate mail.
Did you?
Well, I think more disgust mail for using the term Crispy Boys. They don't care for that term. I just think it's funny. But Daryl, the next Crispy Boy I drink will be for you. So we appreciate your support there.
Hashtag Crispy Boys for Daryl.
Crispy Boys for Daryl. Is that a charity? It sounds like one.
It could be.
Good stuff.
Tim, I think we do need to get into the beers of the week.
Crack open a cold one. It's the Truck and Tap Beer of the Week. Craft beer and food trucks in downtown Woodstock. Truckandtap.com.
Well, Brian, I'm going to run through the list real quick here. We got some good ones to get into. We are drinking, of course, Tucker Brewing's Tucktoberfest Marzen Lager. We have Polliner Oktoberfest Marzen, Sierra Nevada Bitburger Collaboration Oktoberfest, Benedictiner Fest Beer, Spaten Oktoberfest, Sam Adams Oktoberfest, Erdinger Oktoberfest, and Highland Clawhammer. Those are the ones that we're blind tasting. At the end of the show, we'll talk about which ones we've enjoyed and why we liked them. So that is the plan, Brian. And what's going on this week in the news?
What's in the news? The beer guys have the scoop.
Extra, extra, read all about it.
Time for headlines.
All right, so Founders has been doing a great job of dominating the news recently. This week, they announced a new variant of KBS, and I have a feed reader that marks how popular articles are, and every single post of this got fire next to it. Like, people are going nuts about it. You would think that they sold out to Mahou San Miguel. All of the craft people would lose interest. Nope, people still love it. So the new variant of KBS, and KBS is becoming a year-round beer. So the new variant of KBS is KBS Espresso, and it's for people like me who thinks there's just never enough coffee in anything. Even coffee beers could use some more coffee. So both KBS going year-round and the new variant starts in February of 2020. And, ordinarily I don't talk about individual beer releases, but this one's got a warm spot in my heart.
It's a special place in your heart.
Yeah, it kind of got us homebrewing, which when
did.
you think about it, kind of set us on the path to do this radio show. So worth a special acknowledgement. But probably my favorite story of the week is an update about the Smithsonian's American Brewing History Initiative. It's all about putting together a pretty amazing collection of beer collectibles. So the American Brewing History Initiative is, quote, the first national scale scholarly research and collection project to gather and preserve the artifacts, documents, and voices associated with the beer industry's recent growth. So this week, the curator wrote an update on the Smithsonian website and talked about some of the stuff they have and showed some pictures of some of the stuff they have, like Sam Calagione's original brew kettle, and the vibrating football game that he used to continuously hop the original 60-minute IPA, and stuff like New Albion Brewing Company's bottles and some labels and things like that. In addition, there are oral histories that have been recorded from at least 75 people who have made significant impacts on the craft beer industry. So if you're interested in checking it all out, you can go hit an exhibition called Food Transforming the American Table that opens October 25th, and they will have a section dedicated to beer memorabilia. And also there will be a Smithsonian Food History Weekend on November 7th through 9th, or you can check out the slideshow on that post on the Smithsonian's website. It's pretty neat stuff.
I saw they also have Charlie Papazian's homebrewing spoon there.
They do. They have the original copy of his first homebrew recipe, the only surviving, I believe, or the only one left of it. And I actually had that written down. I didn't mention it's called Log Boom Brew. So pretty neat stuff.
That's going to be interesting
Yeah.
to see. Sounds like a fun project.
Absolutely. So everybody loves top 10 lists. Website 24/7 Wall Street has compiled a top 10 list of America's top 10 drunkest states. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I'm going to do the top 3. And number 3 is Alaska, with 22.1% of adults saying they drink excessively. Shout out to our listeners in KFAR in Fairbanks. And second is Wisconsin, and the winner is North Dakota.
Drunk states.
That's right.
How about it? You're listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We do need to take a break, but we will be back very soon to talk more Oktoberfest with Tucker Brewing.
Is your brewery or restaurant flooring all jacked up? Your foundation needs to be protected from heat, chemicals, and other contaminants. At the same time, you want to make sure it's slip resistant and you can clean up your messes with soap and water. You know who to call? ResTech. We've been manufacturing poured-in-place flooring since 2002, and we've got solutions to fit any facility's needs. Go on and visit our website at ResTech.net. That's RES-TEK.net. Drop us a line and we will come to you for a free evaluation.
Oh, yeah.
Brian and Tim, the beer guys. If you're like us, no lunch or dinner is complete without a pint or two of craft beer.
Which is why Truck and Tap in downtown Woodstock, Alpharetta, and Duluth are always on our list. Tim, why do they call it Truck and Tap?
Well, the tap part is easy, Brian. They've got 18 of them.
As for the truck part, that's where it gets interesting. Truck and Tap features your favorite Atlanta area food trucks, so you're getting a different menu every day.
Truck and Tap in downtown Woodstock, Alpharetta, and Duluth.
Truckandtap.com. Let them know that the beer guys sent you.
Follow the Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
To be the man, you gotta beat the man. Woo!
Now, back to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Beer Guys Radio Show. If you miss an episode, don't worry. All episodes are available as a podcast. Subscribe on your favorite podcasting app and never miss a show. Now let's get back to our Oktoberfest talk with Tucker Brewing.
Oktoberfest, Brian.
That's right.
We've drank a few. We're on our third.
Yes.
Of 9. We found one we forgot we had.
That's right.
The Ironmonger. So we've got that one. We've added to it. But we had some discussion in between the segments. They're talking about the beers we liked, and we don't know what they are yet. But number 3 seems to be about, 3/5, I think, right now. Yeah. And the first one we had is your number 1 right now, right?
That's really growing on me. There was a kind of a and I think I like the big bready, the toasty notes in some of these, and I enjoyed that element on there, and it was enough in number 1 to make that beat number 3 for me. But number 3, I think, is clearly superior to number 2 at this point. Yes.
Okay. And Smalls, you're totally disagreeing with Brian and saying number 2 is superior,
Well,
right?
Brian's always wrong. So
True.
That's
true.
what I hear.
We know this. Yes.
But no, I prefer number 2. But again, I prefer my beers to be a little bit maltier.
A little maltier. Yeah. And like we were talking about, with these, they're all good beers. At least so far, everything we've gotten into has been a good beer. And so the similarities there, it becomes tough.
It's not a guarantee. Last year we had a beer or two that we were like, this is really not good. So
right.
And they were big names. So interesting.
Good stuff. Well, Ashley, Tucker, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate it. Tucker Brewing Company in Tucker, Georgia, with Tucker Eagleson. It was cool of them to name the brewery after you before you even got there.
Yeah,
right?
in the town as well. It's crazy.
It just all worked out. Did that impact your decision to come down and join the team any?
It's really weird how it worked out. I was on an industry website called Pro Brewer, which I'm sure you're aware of. And the most recent posting on there was Brewmaster at Tucker Brewing in Tucker, Georgia. I was like,
no
what
way.
the heck? This has got to be some kind of destiny or something. So I ended up calling Ashley's brother, Ryan, who posted the ad. And I was like, hey, so my name's Tucker and I brew beer. What more do you want?
Did you say enough said?
Yeah,
this
really.
interview is done.
It is.
Exactly.
Totally.
So the rest is history. I've been there for about a year now and having a lot of fun brewing lagers.
Good stuff. That is one reason we wanted you to join us here is we don't have a lot of lager breweries in Georgia or really around the country right now. There's not a ton of them.
Not dedicated solely to lager.
But we have Arches Brewing that joined us last year for our Oktoberfest show. And what made you decide to go that route to do a lager-focused brewery?
I think for us, we really wanted to do beers that were sessionable and flavorful. You know, and if you come to our brewery and you really see the space, it's meant for people to come, stay, hang out. So we really wanted that to kind of carry over in the whole brand experience. Beers that you can take anywhere, drink anywhere, and really just enjoy in copious amounts, of course.
That's it. Sessionable.
Exactly.
The sessionable 6%er, right?
Exactly. The interesting thing is looking through all the stats for all the beers that we're going to be blind tasting. Almost all of them are exactly 5.8%. I mean, you got to give it to the Germans for their efficiency. They're right on their numbers.
Yeah.
Almost all of them are either 20 to 22 IBUs. So almost identical properties, but the actual flavors are considerably different when you drink them. So it's a lot you can do and be Reinheitsgebot. So
Reinheitsgebot.
Yes.
Yes. Your beer garden there, that's something I think a lot of people that I see that go over and visit the brewery, they mention, what a great beer garden. They also mention how kid-friendly it is, which is not a sell to me necessarily. But,
right. There's some people we have that aren't a sell, but, we try to.
But you know what? There are a lot of people there now that when we have discussions on the Reddit forum, on the Reddit ATL beer, there's always a few guys on there that talk about, the kids on there. You guys have a meme, by the way. Have you seen your meme?
No.
Yeah, so it's a group of kids jumping up in the air cheering, and someone put TKR, TKR.
Oh man, that's not a good look.
I like a kid-friendly place when kids are goats. I think that's pretty neat.
It
little
took me a
goats,
second there
right?
to get on that.
Kid-friendly, nice.
But no, you know what? A lot of people, and especially with the drinking culture of sit down, you have a huge beer garden. You can bring the kids. They can play out, the beer garden. There's games out there, music and that. And I was looking, I've been over to your brewery in the beer garden. I'm like, this is really nice. But then I was looking on your website and saw a picture of it. I'm like, man, that's a lot bigger than I realized. And when I went over there, it was full of people. I don't think I quite got the scope of how large it is. Did I hear you say earlier, are you the largest beer garden in Georgia?
We are. We're the largest beer garden in the States. Our space is about 10,000 square feet. We have a 600 square foot stage. So, definitely some things to do while you're out in the beer garden outside of just being able to drink.
Will you have oompa music
for Oktoberfest?
Yeah.
So it's funny. When we did Oktoberfest last year, we were all about, it's got to be as authentic as possible. Let's do polka music all day. And then by, I think, 11:30 at night, all of us were like, I'm over it. Like, it's too much. It's way too much. So this year we said, okay, we'll definitely do the polka music. You have to. It's a staple, but we'll implement. We've got some bigger name bands that are coming. Coy Boyles, who's with Zach Brown, is playing, and Travers Brothership is also playing. And actually one of our bartenders, DJ Zach Falls, is playing as well. So got some different types of genre of variety. So it's fun for everybody. And something a little different.
I think this is a good time to talk a little bit about Oktoberfest music since we brought that up, because I went in and did a little research. I'm wondering, what are the traditional Oktoberfest songs? And there's some that you'd figure. I believe Ein Prosit is kind of the most popular one, and there's one about Hofbrauhaus, but something I did not know, a few songs that I did not know, John Denver's Country Roads is a very popular Oktoberfest song.
Did not know
and
that.
Sweet Caroline is another one. And the White Stripes, Seven Nation Army.
Really?
Are all Oktoberfest songs.
None of them can hold a candle, though, to the chicken dance.
I know.
The chicken
dance. The chicken dance.
Yeah, so it's something I'm like, I had no idea. And I'd heard someone talking or saw a post online where people were talking about John Denver's Country Roads. And someone, I don't remember the exact context, but mentioned that they'd heard the song somewhere and asked, why are you playing Germany's national anthem?
No
and I don't know if any of this is true or I've been fooled by the internet, but apparently it's extremely popular.
That's a good song.
Maybe you can get one of the bands to play it there.
I know, definitely.
I'm surprised no Hasselhoff made the list. I mean, I know that they have a deep abiding love of David Hasselhoff.
They do. They do love their Hasselhoff. You don't hassle the Hoff brand.
Yeah, that's right.
But we put together an Oktoberfest playlist, and we'll actually put a link to that in our show notes. If you use Spotify, you can go on there and get our playlist and enjoy some Oktoberfest music, both, I guess, all traditional or modern traditional. Check it out.
Definitely. So, you came out with Oktoberfest Marzen Lager. Can you tell us a little bit about your approach to brewing that beer?
Yeah. So we want it to be the ultimate drinking beer during the Oktoberfest time. So the drinkability level on this beer was going to be supreme. So we wanted it ultra balanced between hops and malt.
To be consumed a liter at a time, correct?
A liter at a time.
That's right.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And you know, after 1 liter, you just want another one.
Absolutely. So we've tasted a number of these beers. Do you think any of these beers that we've had so far is your Tucktoberfest?
You know, this number 4 right here that I'm drinking right now, it's kind of reminding me of something. So so
my
possibly.
timing was good with that. I had no idea. I just kind of threw that out there.
Well, it's tricky to look at that. Even knowing your beer, I'm sure you've had it many, many times, tasting it, and brew it and that, but you throw it in with 8 others and drink it. It can be tricky to pick it out.
Yeah, yeah, especially with all these big dogs we're going up against.
I've got so many beers in front of me right now, y'all.
Cup after cup with numbers on them. Yes, it's difficult to keep them all straight, Tim.
It is, but it's fun going through all these, checking them out. So we need to take a break, Brian. We're going to come back and we're going to ramble some more about Oktoberfest, talk about some of the traditions and history. You're listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We'll be back right after this.
Last year was such a blast, we're doing it again. The second annual Tucktoberfest on Saturday, September 28th. Beer, brats, music, games, and more. Celebrate Oktoberfest in Georgia's largest beer garden, located at Tucker Brewing Company. Ticket gets you entry to the festival, a souvenir glass, 1 beer ticket, and Grammy Award-winning live music. Tickets are $30 online, $35 at the door. Buy yours now at tuckerbrewing.com. We'll see you on Saturday, September 28th. Tucker Brewing Company, inspired by tradition.
Have you ever thought about owning your own brewery but don't know what it takes to get one built? We're Storytime Construction, and we build breweries. We're Georgia's most experienced and hands-on contractors when it comes to building new breweries and tap rooms, or expanding existing breweries. We offer full build-outs, remodeling, and additions, as well as consulting and construction management. Give us a call at 770-733-4343. Storytime Construction. We build breweries.
Follow the Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
I didn't enjoy it at all.
Now, back to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Beer Guys Radio Show. I want to give a quick shout out to one of our great radio affiliates, KCPX 1490 AM in Moab, Utah. Catch Beer Guys Radio on KCPX every Sunday at 3 p.m. local time. Now let's get back into the Oktoberfest talk with Tucker Brewing.
We're all up in it, Brian. We're deep into the Oktoberfest talk. We're
so deep into it.
We've been sampling these beers. What do y'all think so far? What are your opinions? We're getting into number 9 here soon, and it's challenging tasting all these beers, don't you think?
It is. Can't taste anything anymore.
See, it's all so festy. But Brian, talking of Oktoberfest, you got us some stats and info on the history of Oktoberfest.
I do indeed. And the one thing I want to say is we're not drinking a ton of them, but after so many of them, they do kind of start blurring together a bit. But yes, Oktoberfest background. So the first Oktoberfest was in 1810, and is basically a huge wedding reception for Prince Ludwig and Princess Therese. So the interesting thing about that, and part of the reason it endured, I have just read recently, is that it broke with tradition. Usually wedding ceremonies like that were only for the muckety-mucks, the royals. They opened it up to the entire community, and everybody had a party. And so it caught on. People dug that, and they kept partying. So the modern Oktoberfest starts in mid to late September and runs through the first weekend of October, so 16 to 18 days, depending on the calendar. Oktoberfest 2019 begins at 12 p.m. Saturday the 21st of September and will end on Sunday the 6th of October 2019, obviously. And so what Americans know as Oktoberfest beers are not necessarily the same beers that are favored at Oktoberfest.
What?
Yeah, craziness, right? So last year we were talking to our Oktoberfest guru, Owen Ogletree, on the subject, and he said they favored a malty, sweeter, darker Golden Fest beer than what we typically get as our Marzens here. So it's a little bit of an easier drinking style than the Marzens we favor, so they can handle those liters a lot easier. So they go down easier basically, and I believe that a touch more ABV to them. So just a
Do you know what the ABV is over there? Do you know the average ABV?
You
Wait a
know.
minute, you're saying that they're darker and more boozy, so they go down easier?
That's what my notes say, and I believe that's what Owen Ogletree was telling me. I was wondering about the darker part of it because I thought the darker golden fest beer, so like darker gold, maybe not necessarily darker than what we're drinking. So yeah, well, based upon the beers that we're drinking, some of them might be served during Oktoberfest. Some of them are definitely not. But we're seeing a pretty consistent 5.8% ABV across the board. It just, lockstep in that, about 20 IBUs for all of them. I can tell you that the average Oktoberfest glass of beer weighs about 5 pounds and will cost you about 11 to 12 euros a liter.
I've tried to think, Brian, serve it in liters. You see people go over there and spend the day. I mean, that's a lot of beer.
Oh, yeah.
Like when we go to the German restaurant here, I never want a full liter. I mean, not that I can. I have, and I will again in the future, Brian.
I kind of always want a full liter.
A full liter? No, half liter is good with me. I'll go with that because I'll have a few, but I don't feel if I'm drinking the full liters. You think 5 pounds, 3 beers in, you got 15 pounds of beer in you, minus what you've dropped off.
I was going to say, this is going to be a catch and release scenario. You're going to catch it, but you're going to release a bit of it back. So,
Tucker, have you been over to the Real Deal Oktoberfest?
I've never been down to Munich during the actual Oktoberfest, but I have been down to Munich, and it's a
okay.
beautiful
Just didn't
place.
make it at Oktoberfest, huh?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ashley, how about you? Have you been to the fest? Okay.
I haven't been to Oktoberfest, but definitely have gone to Munich. Love Munich, but would love to get back there to see what it's truly about.
That's what I think that's on my bucket list. I want to do. I haven't been to Belgium yet. I want to do all the Belgian breweries. Go over there and check that out. And I think you kind of have to do if you're a beer connoisseur. I'm going to call myself a connoisseur here. If you're a beer connoisseur, you got to throw Oktoberfest in there.
Yeah, for sure.
And the interesting thing is I found out just this year that there is an association against fraudulent pouring, which is an actual organized kind of police force that patrols Oktoberfest to ensure that your pour comes up to the liter mark on all these. So they're very serious about beer over there. They're not messing around.
It's so German.
It's very German.
Very German. Well, that's what I was going to say. I've seen Europeans talking about that because I know in the UK as well, they have the lines on the glass. And I think Belgium too has.
I believe so.
mark.
Yeah.
I've never really put that much thought. If it's close to a full glass, I don't get too worried with it.
So they're good at what they do. I see them pouring, and I don't think they even look at it. They just know instinctively because they're pouring hard. There's a lot of head that forms, and they set them down on a table. And apparently they've got it just nailed in terms of timing and whatever, because once it all settles out, it hits that.
Right on there.
Yeah,
huh?
right on that liter. So they're very precise with that. And they've got a force that enforces it. So that's pretty funny.
Taking care of business, man.
Apparently there was concern about that at some point, which is why they organized it, that people were skimming, and it's against the law. It's kind of a big deal. It's like they don't want people ripping off the public and giving the Oktoberfest a bad name or setting it in poor light. So you got to admire that, maintain the quality,
I guess so. Yeah. I mean, taking care of making sure things are up to par, right?
Exactly right.
So do you guys know what the original Oktoberfest beer was?
What
style of beer?
It was a Dunkel, I believe. It wasn't actually a Marzen.
I don't think he agrees with you, Brian. By the head tell thing.
You know what? I could be wrong. So these notes I put together, some are from older previous shows where we've talked about some of the same information, but what I have is the style of beer at Oktoberfest has changed a lot over the years. In 1810, it was a Dunkel. In 1872 to 1900, it was a Bock. In 1900 to 1970, Marzen was kind of what they were pouring there, like we drink here. And since 1970 to today, it's actually a Fest beer, which is that golden, higher ABV, easier to drink type of beer. So Fest beer is what they're currently doing.
The dark, high ABV, easy to drink.
I don't know about that dark bit.
Yeah.
That dark bit got put in my notes. It's not accurate, but Tucker disagrees with me on that original. What was the original?
Those notes sound pretty detailed, which sounds good.
I could be lying in detail, though.
Yeah.
I've always heard that the Helles was actually the original Oktoberfest beer.
Okay.
It's possible.
You lied with such gusto, Brian, that he's like, well, maybe Brian's got it together there.
Tim, it's all about attitude when you're lying.
It is.
It really
Believe
is.
in yourself.
So I believe in the me that put these notes together, but I don't know if I should have been. That guy could have been drunk.
Fair enough.
I know me
I
pretty
understand.
well, and there's a good chance he was.
Yeah.
Yes. Any beer that's actually served at Oktoberfest is considered an Oktoberfest beer, and you'll find more than just the Fest beer. That's the most popular beer. You'll also find Helles, as you mentioned. You'll find Dunkels, Radlers, and Hefts, and there's even non-alcoholic beer, if you can believe it, at Oktoberfest.
A good NA beer at Oktoberfest,
You can drink
right?
liters of non-alcoholic beer.
Brian, did you mention yet how much beer they drink at Oktoberfest?
I don't believe I did.
I remember last year we were looking at it, and the volume, if I remember correctly, was equivalent to like 3 or 4 Olympic swimming pools. Is that right?
That is correct. Based on some updated figures I have, 7.5 million liters of beer were consumed in 18 days during the 2017 Oktoberfest. That's actually a little bit more, I think, than 60,000 barrels of beer or 1.8 million gallons, which is enough. Not galleons, gallons.
Galleons of beer.
It could be ship size. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's enough to fill about 3 Olympic-sized swimming pools. So, yes, that is correct. That is, it's a lot of beer, Tim.
I think 1.8 million galleons would be more than three
That'd be
swimming
great.
pools.
Good Spanish or German galleons? I don't know. Do they come in German?
I don't know. I always hear it Spanish.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's what I hear.
I'd
too.
take a ship full of beer, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it might have trouble floating, but if it was a light beer, maybe very highly carbonated.
Highly carbonated.
Full of Berliner.
One of those good high ABV, dark, easy drinkers,
That's
right? Yeah.
Again, I blame my notes for that.
Yeah, good stuff. Well, Brian, we're about to take a break. We need to get here on another break. But when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about German drinking phrases because Germans have the best words for drinking. Then we're going to talk about the beers here. We're going to give our top 3. You're listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We'll be back with Tucker Brewing right after this.
Craft beer forged with a reverence for tradition and new styles that start a revolution. Ironmonger Brewing. The brewers at Ironmonger Brewing pride themselves at being masters of barrel-aged, hoppy, and sour beers. They invite you to their tap room in Marietta, Georgia to taste and see. Also visit their barrel room for an intimate drinking experience with great live entertainment. Keep up to date on all things Ironmonger by liking them on Facebook. Ironmonger Brewing, establishing a new standard in craft beer.
As a brewery owner or taproom manager, are you looking for ways to enhance your customer experience while maximizing your revenues? Craft Cellar is a mobile solution that helps your brewery drive sales and attract new customers through online pre-sales for beer releases, events, and memberships. Get details now at craftcellar.com. Mention Beer Guys Radio after sign up and extend your free trial to a full 30 days. Remember craftcellar.com, craftcellr.com.
Follow the Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Now, back to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
Shake it back!
Welcome back to the Beer Guys Radio Show. If you enjoy the show, please consider supporting us on Patreon. Just go to patreon.com/beerguys. Patrons get cool perks like Beer Guys swag, commercial-free episodes, and even bonus episodes that aren't available anywhere else. And as Tim mentioned earlier, it's this beer right here, Surly Furious.
Furious, Brian.
Furious
Totally
IPA.
furious.
And I know, I'm not going to say what, but we've got some coming up from the cellar, really nicely aged. At least one of them was in a rye whiskey barrel. So you really want to check that out. But now let's get back to our talk about Oktoberfest with the folks from Tucker Brewing.
Y'all, we have drank all of the Oktoberfest beers, at least all the Oktoberfest beers that we had here. So we're moving along. We're going to talk. Brian, you had some information on some fancy drinking phrases, German drinking phrases, correct?
I do. I have a number of them. The first one is Frühschoppen, which is morning drinking, Tim.
Morning drinking. Day drinking.
Yes.
We've got a phrase for that, too.
I was
going
to say, there's day drinking and then there's morning drinking. This is a special kind of drinking that happens before noon. So it's the tradition of meeting at a pub late morning and drinking Weiss beer and sometimes having a meal, but sometimes not. And it's popular after a church service in certain regions of Germany. And but with the decline of church attendance, it's a little less common than it used to be. So church going away has actually stopped some of the German morning drinking. So that's a shame. Of course, there is.
Do they drink before church, or do they just go to church really early?
I think it's after church, because that happens early, and you have a little bit of time before noon to get some food in, get a drink in or two. So I think it's after, but I'm not sure. I've never gone to church in Germany, so I couldn't say.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that about you.
Another phrase that I really enjoy is obatzda, which means it's tapped, or it is tapped. It's a traditional proclamation that kicks off Oktoberfest. I have had the occasion to say this while tapping a keg.
That's right.
Yes, here in Atlanta last year. Yes.
And Ashley, you were just telling us you actually do the official tapping. You said the mayor had come before. Is he doing it this year as well?
Yep, he came to the brewery. He comes actually to the brewery pretty often, but he had said to us, you just let me know what time I need to be here, and I'll be up on stage tapping that keg. So
for a day last year, I was the mayor of Atlanta because I fulfilled that. I fulfilled that role.
But
yes.
What did it take you, like 14 taps to get
No. People gamble
No?
on that.
Yeah.
Apparently, the mayor can take as little as 2, as many as like a dozen or 14. I think I got it in 2 or 4. I think it was 2. I'd have to go back and check the footage. We have footage of that.
I think one good solid. Has anybody done it in 1?
I think
Because I
it's
kind of feel like you
possible.
should be able to do that, right?
I think it always takes 2. I think 1 kind of gets it seated and the second one sets it home. I think that's typically how it goes. I could be wrong.
Well, I think
don't do that very often.
the traditional keg at Oktoberfest is a little bigger than the ones here. I've tapped a cask before, an American cask, and I don't think I've got it in 1 shot.
I think it's difficult to get.
Maybe I'm being over expectant. Our German brethren there.
Yes. Well, and these are politicians, so you're not professional keg tappers. So you have to make some allowances for that.
Understandable.
So, of course, we have Prost, which is cheers. People know that. There's another fun one, Bierleichen, which is beer corpses. And it's what the locals call people who get drunk too early and pass out in the grass at Oktoberfest.
So if you go too hard when you're fruit shopping, then you'll end up a Bierleichen.
That's right. Yeah. And it's fun that it's like basically an after church event. So we went to church and then we went fruit shopping. And then I became the beer undead. Yes. That's
and then 3 days later you rise from the Bierleichen, and then
exactly. And some hangovers are like that. 3 days later you rise up and you're like, I'm finally over this thing. It was like death.
Yes, near death experience. Well, Brian, I think we've covered the basics of the traditions of Oktoberfest. Let's talk about our beers. So as we mentioned earlier, we had a list of 9 beers that we tried, and we have something that happened this year, Brian, that I don't think has happened on the previous shows with our previous guests, and people are going to think that we are dirty liars, but we are not. We always speak the truth on Beer Guys Radio. But we drank through those. Brian, real quick, what was your top pick?
So my top pick, drinking them blind, was Sierra Nevada. Yeah, that's with the Bitburger folks, and I will say, having had it before the show, that I definitely like it more than last year's.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. That's Smalls. What got your number 1 spot?
Sam Adams.
Sam Adams. What'd you like about that one?
Like I said, I prefer the maltier, sweeter. This one, I got a lot of the graham cracker on the nose, which I liked.
That's one that I think is highly contested, and it varies a lot from year to year. Like one year it'll be really good, and the next year it doesn't seem to hit the mark anymore.
I wasn't fond of it last year.
And Tucker, I mean, you're just so full of yourself over there, man. Well, your number. Now, I will say this though, your beer was your number 1.
Yeah,
and you called it right. You knew that was your beer.
Yeah, next to my number 6 here, I have TKR with a question mark. So
yeah,
there was a sense that it might be our beer.
That could be it.
But yeah, it was my number 1.
Right. What do you like about your beer, Tucker?
What
was your goal with it?
Super cold.
Super cold. Frosty mugs. Yeah.
It went down easy, smooth.
I just found that it was super clean in flavor, very well rounded, and 0 off flavors. And I could probably take 3 liters, 4 liters of it.
Man,
it's crazy
over here.
Sounds like an engine. How many?
It does.
Yeah.
What are you running on? It's a 3.0.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. And Ashley, you also called it, and your beer, your favorite beer, which is the way it should be.
Yeah, so I picked our Oktoberfest blindly, and the reason I picked it, it has a little bit more body than I think most of them had, and I really like the caramel aspect of it. It's just an easy drinking light beer for being a Märzen style.
Yeah, it was one that it was my number one as well. I picked
your
up
number
mine.
one?
It was my number one beer. Brian, I just looked at my notes and I just remembered things that you had to say about that beer.
Oh yeah, the first pour so it turned out to be, I got a second pour of it after the fact, also blind, and the second pour tasted completely different to me. I don't know why.
Because, to be kind, Brian, you said you had some notes of flatulence.
It was a little flatulent, and there was a sulfury. There was a touch of something else in it. And the second pour I got, it was considerably better, like night and day different. So I don't know what happened.
It's got to breathe for a
let it
minute.
breathe. Yeah,
got to aerate it like a fine wine there.
And in my final ranking, it wound up being my number 3. So
okay,
that's how much of a difference that pour made.
We got some hard plastic cups because generally those are okay to taste beer in if they're the hard plastic. But I think we noticed they were in, so we moved to glass, just so we didn't impart any.
And that's what I did with that
there.
second one. Yeah, there's a definite aroma that those impart that kind of changed my perception of some of the beers. So yes.
Yeah, okay. Well, overall, we take this, the way we score it, Brian, we all go around, we give our top 3. The number 1 gets 3 points, the number 2 gets 2 points, the number 1 gets 1 point. And as a group, we give the top 3 consensus there. So for us, group-wise, number 1 was Tucktoberfest. And that's what I said. People are going to be like, oh, come on, you have a guest on the show, and their beer is the number 1. So we did have 2 people pick that as their number 1. So that's it. Oh, yes, yeah. We did have 3 of us pick it.
Blind. 3 picked it as the number 1.
You know what? I apologize. I have to take back my statement. Tucktoberfest was my second favorite.
Oh,
so
okay.
we were close.
What was your first?
My number 1 was Highland Clawhammer.
Oh, Highland. Okay.
Yeah. I really like that one quite a lot. And my notes on that one say it had a light aroma. It was very crisp and very tasty. So I guess that one to be a German, actually, as we were drinking through there. I have a note here that I thought that was a German beer.
That was my number 4. I also was very fond of that one.
Yeah. So that was tasty. That was it. And Tucker was my number 2 there. But it ended up, when we looked, all of us put Tucktoberfest in our top 3. We all of us, it hit one position for all of us in there, and really the only beer that everyone voted for there. So good stuff there. Our number 2 overall was the Highland Clawhammer.
Okay,
adding up all the votes there. And number 3 was the Sierra Nevada. So that is the Beer Guys Radio top 3 Oktoberfest beers out of the 9 that we tasted for 2019.
Excellent.
Yeah, good stuff. And we'll put a list of all the beers we put on. We'll put our top 3 on there. And speaking of Oktoberfest, when this airs, it's kicking off.
Yes.
It is the official kickoff. And what, Tucker Brewing, what's the date again on your Oktoberfest?
Yeah, so Tucktoberfest is Saturday, September 28th from 4 to midnight. We've got a bunch of bands, some fun games, stein holding contests, wiener toss, you name it. And lots of good beer. We actually will have a barrel-aged Märzen as well.
Okay. Will you have Schweinhaxen over there?
No, I don't know if that made the list, but we'll have pretzel, beer cheese, brats, some chicken as well, since chicken's
like
pretty
a good time.
Wear your lederhosen.
Wear your lederhosen.
And drundles.
Come ready to party and throw
Exactly.
wieners. Up
Yes.
And throw wieners.
Hold steins
and hold steins and throw
That's
wieners.
it. Yeah, good stuff. Well, guys, thanks so much for joining in the blind tasting here. I love Oktoberfest. I'm looking forward to the next few weeks and just getting out there and partying and having a good time.
Thanks for
so
having
much.
us, guys.
Absolutely.
See you at Tucktoberfest.
You know it. That about wraps it up for this episode of the Beer Guys Radio Show. Coming up next week, we're going to be talking with Chicago's Revolution Brewing. For more craft beer info, follow us online or just drop by Brian's house anytime. Just email me and I'll send you his address. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great week, and don't forget to drink local. Cheers.